If you're a woman born in Afghanistan who lives under the perennial fear of the Taliban rule, we feel you. And most importantly, we hear you. In a fresh blow to women's rights in the country, the Taliban has suspended the operation of Afghanistan's only women's radio station after raiding the area on Tuesday, thus barring women from voicing their views and opinions. Now, why is this concerning, and what does this mean for the overall women's rights in the country? Kabul-based Radio Begum, a station run by women with content aimed at women's education, was forced to stop operations after the Taliban's Information and Culture Ministry searched its office and restrained the station staff. In a statement on Tuesday, the station said that the officers seized computers, hard drives, files and phones from Begum staff, including Begum female journalists, and took into custody 2 male employees of the organization who do not hold any senior management position. Clarifying the move further, the Taliban's Information and Culture Ministry said that it suspended Radio Begum on grounds of unauthorized provision of content and programming to an overseas TV channel. This is even as the Taliban did not identify the foreign TV channel in question. It said it will determine the station's future in due course of time. Needless to say, the move has received backlash from several quarters, including Reporters Without Borders, or RSF, which is an independent rights group, which condemned the suspension and demanded its immediate reversal. And as for Radio Begum, the station said it has never been involved in any political activity and was in fact committed to serving the Afghan people and more specifically the Afghan women. But why does it matter? You see, prior to the ban, Radio Begum broadcast 6 hours of lessons a day, along with health, psychology and spiritual programs to women across most of Afghanistan, which means it served as a forum to inform and educate women and thus empower them in various spheres. Not just that, its sister channels also offer lessons online, which are shot in studios thousands of miles away in Paris. The classes, which are televised, cover a wide array of subjects. Just to refresh your memory at this point of time, the Taliban had banned girls from attending schools beyond 6th grade. Thus, portals like Radio Begum have been extremely important in delivering the knowledge that the women of Afghanistan need, in a bid to keep them abreast with what's happening in the world at large. And what is the Taliban doing? The Taliban is decimating women's dreams, dignity and rights and tightening its noose around women's freedom, one decree at a time. However, the Taliban's crackdown against women is not a novel phenomenon per se and has very much been the mandate since it rose to power in 2021. This is despite the group initially posing itself to be more moderate than it was during its previous rule of Afghanistan in the 1990s. As this time around, the Taliban promised that women would be allowed to continue their education up to university level. Clearly, these were all empty promises by the Taliban, the impact of which is now being felt by an entire generation of women. And it's not just them who face dire consequences under the Taliban, but also those who have stood up for them, including ministers in the Taliban government itself. Case in point is this Taliban minister, who now appears to have been forced to flee the country. What was his fault? Expressing support for reversing the ban on girls' education in Afghanistan. Here's what happened. On the 20th of January, Mohammed Abbas, Taliban's deputy foreign minister, criticized the government's ban on girls attending secondary schools and higher education. While speaking at a graduation ceremony in Khost province near the Afghan-Pakistan border, he said, and I quote here, "There is no excuse for this, not now and not in the future." He also said, and I'm quoting him again, "We are being unjust to 20 million people. During the time of the Prophet Muhammad, the doors of knowledge were opened for both men and women." Pretty uncanny for a Taliban minister to say so. That too in a public forum, given Taliban's explicit anti-women policies. And not just him. Another Taliban minister too had a similar position on the education of girls in Taliban. We're talking about Mohammad Nabi Omari, the Taliban's deputy minister of interior, who was moved to tears while speaking about the group's strict restrictions on girls' education, which have been imposed by Taliban leader Hibatullah Akhundzada. In the video widely circulated on social media, Omari is seen breaking down during a speech on the closure of girls' schools as he urged for their urgent reopening. Now, to get a sense of the situation on the ground better, does this suggest that the Taliban government remains divided? That is, when it comes to basic human rights, such as the right to education and to express freely. To get a sense of what is happening there, WION spoke to Mehbooba Siraj, Executive Director for AWSDC, that is Afghan Women's Skills Development Center. Listen.
There's a lot of fear here, and the fear is absolutely real. Because there is no personal security in Afghanistan anymore. So anything can happen to any woman in Afghanistan at any minute, really. It just their lives, their livelihoods, their freedom, their whatever. They don't have any freedom, but whatever they have, that everything and anything could be taken away from them in a blink of an eye. This is what is actually happening, and we don't really know how to stop this. And then when it happens, the strangest thing is that there are some of the Taliban that they are not for this, and they are against all of this.
Now, the main question is, despite the several odds that women in Afghanistan are confronted with, can they gather the strength to fight back and reclaim their fundamental rights? Well, we'll have to wait and watch.